On May 5, 1945, amid the bloodiest battle of the Pacific War, one unarmed medic defied death for 12 consecutive hours and saved 75 lives. But the full story of that night remains partially obscured by the fog of war. This is the story of Desmond Doss at Hacksaw Ridge, documented by numbers, confirmed by history, yet missing the voices that could tell us exactly how he did it. Spring 1945 brought American forces face-to-face with their most brutal test in the Pacific. The Battle of Okinawa, lasting 82 to 91 days from April 1st to June 22nd, represented the largest amphibious assault of the entire Pacific War, a massive operation designed to secure a launching point for the invasion of mainland Japan itself. By the time the guns fell silent, American casualties exceeded 49,000 men. That's not a statistic. That's 49,000 individual stories of pain and sacrifice. The strategic stakes made every yard of ground critically important. Military planners saw Okinawa as the essential staging area for Operation Downfall, the planned invasion of the Japanese home islands. This pressure to hold every position meant wounded men often remained in the most exposed and dangerous locations, bleeding out while their comrades fought to keep the enemy at bay. While soldiers fought for every yard of ground, the ocean became a graveyard. Japanese kamikaze attacks sank 26 American ships and damaged 168 more. This multi-dimensional danger meant no position offered true safety. Soldiers on the ground faced enemy fire from fortified positions. Sailors offshore faced suicide aircraft. For medics working to save wounded soldiers, this environment created impossible challenges. The Japanese had transformed Okinawa's natural landscape into a fortress of death. Unlike earlier Pacific campaigns with suicidal banzai charges, at Okinawa, the defenders dug in. They constructed elaborate networks of fortified bunkers and turned the island's extensive cave systems into positions that could survive artillery bombardment and emerge to fire on advancing troops. Among these killing fields stood the Maida Escarpment, Hacksaw Ridge. The escarpment's vertical nature created evacuation routes that were nearly impossible to use under fire. Wounded soldiers trapped atop the ridge couldn't simply be carried down gentle slopes to safety. They had to be lowered down cliff faces while enemy soldiers tried to kill anyone attempting the rescue. Every calculation said that trying to rescue wounded men from the top of Hacksaw Ridge was suicide. Into this nightmare descended one man without a weapon. Desmond Doss served as a medic in the United States Army, but he was a conscientious objector who refused to carry weapons based on his religious convictions. While other medics carried sidearms for self-defense, Doss carried bandages and morphine. While other soldiers could suppress enemy fire to create space for evacuating wounded, Doss could only expose himself to that fire and hope he survived long enough to save someone else. This wasn't a position that earned respect from other soldiers initially. In a combat zone where your life might depend on the man next to you being able to return fire, refusing to carry a weapon seemed like a liability. On May 5th, 1945, his convictions would be tested in ways no one could have imagined. May 5th, 1945, one medic, 75 lives, 12 hours, 0 weapons. Desmond Doss conducted a 12-hour solo rescue operation, evacuating 75 wounded soldiers from the top of Hacksaw Ridge under combat conditions. These aren't disputed facts. They're part of the historical record. He worked in darkness, in an environment where enemy soldiers could emerge from caves to fire on him at any moment. He repeated the same impossible task again and again, reaching a wounded man, stabilizing him enough to survive movement, then lowering him down the escarpment to safety below. 12 hours of sustained physical effort under combat stress, 12 hours of exposure to enemy fire without the ability to shoot back. 12 hours of making the same choice over and over, to go back up for one more soldier, to risk his life one more time, to believe that saving one more life was worth the risk. The numbers tell us what happened, the documented facts confirm the rescue occurred, but Here's where honesty demands we acknowledge what's missing. The available sources confirm the context of the Battle of Okinawa in remarkable detail. We can document the 82 to 91 day duration. We can verify the 49,000 American casualties. We can describe the fortified positions, the kamikaze attacks, the strategic importance of the campaign. But the specific documentation about Doss's rescue operation is incomplete. We lack soldier testimonies describing what they witnessed. We lack commanding officer accounts explaining how the rescue was coordinated. We lack the intimate details that would let us reconstruct the rescue minute by minute, decision by decision, life by life. This doesn't mean the rescue didn't happen. The basic facts are confirmed. But a complete narrative reconstruction of exactly how Doss saved 75 lives in 12 hours would require access to additional sources that weren't available for this research. Military records from his specific unit, Medal of Honor documentation with detailed citations, oral histories from veterans who were there, personal accounts from Doss himself. The broader Okinawa statistics frame the rescue but don't detail it. We know the environment was deadly because we can count the casualties. We know the terrain was treacherous because we can document the fortified positions. We know the operation was extraordinary because we can compare what Doss did against the tactical nightmare that Okinawa represented, but we can't yet tell the complete story with the level of detail it deserves. This reveals a critical truth about how we remember war. The statistical context of battle, casualty figures, campaign duration, strategic objectives, survives more completely than the intimate human details of individual heroism. We can document the forest more easily than we can describe each tree. What we know for certain is this: amid the deadliest battle of the Pacific War, one unarmed man saved 75 lives in a single night. That fact stands documented and confirmed. But the complete story requires more than statistics. It requires the voices of the men who were rescued. It requires understanding the moment-by-moment decisions Doss made during those 12 hours. It requires knowing how he overcame not just the physical challenges of the cliff face and enemy fire, but the psychological challenge of going back again and again when every rational calculation said the next trip would be his last. Somewhere in military archives or family collections or veteran oral histories, the details exist that would let us tell this story with the fullness it deserves. The incomplete record challenges us to seek the complete truth. Until then, we honor what we know for certain, that on one night during the bloodiest battle of the Pacific War, one man's quiet determination saved 75 lives, and that alone demands we never stop seeking the rest of the story.